The golden light of the afternoon filtered through the tall windows of the courtroom, casting long and elegant shadows across the polished mahogany benches. It was a space defined by order, a sanctuary where the chaotic threads of human disagreement were meticulously unraveled and rewoven into the fabric of justice. At the center of this room sat a small but significant object, a nameplate that carried a weight far greater than its physical form. It bore the name of Judge Ebony K. Williams. To any observer entering this hall of law, that name represented the ultimate authority within these four walls. As the judge often reminded those who stood before her, the only thing that truly mattered in this particular courtroom was how she perceived the truth. Judge Ebony K. Williams was a woman whose identity was a rich tapestry woven from different corners of the American experience. She carried with her the deep, soulful roots of North Carolina and the vibrant, resilient spirit of Louisiana. This heritage was seasoned with a touch of West Coast cool and sharpened by a sophisticated New York edge. She was a person who understood the nuances of culture and the complexities of the human heart. When she looked down from her bench, she did not just see litigants. She saw stories, struggles, and the constant pursuit of a more perfect union. The atmosphere in the room was electric yet respectful. Equal justice, as the judge firmly believed, was centered on the most vital values of the country. It was about freedom and integrity. These were not just abstract concepts to her. They were the goals she strived for in every ruling. She took her role seriously, knowing that for many, this was their only encounter with the legal system. She had decided to become an attorney and pursue the law because she possessed a burning desire to be a voice for the voiceless. Whether the people before her were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer, she stood as a guardian of fairness. On this particular day, the court turned its attention to a dispute between two women who had once shared a bond of trust and friendship. Miss Ava Gomez, a young woman with the focused gaze of a student, stood as the plaintiff. Opposite her was Miss Lisa Ma, the defendant, who appeared weary from the burdens of single motherhood. The case seemed simple on the surface, a claim for $500 for unpaid childcare. However, as the judge knew well, the truth often hid in the small, neglected details of human interaction. Judge Ebony looked at Miss Gomez and invited her to speak. The young woman explained that she was a nursing student, a path that required immense dedication and long hours of study. She told the court that she had known Miss Ma for a long time and frequently watched her two children for free when it was only for a day or two. But this time was different. Miss Ma had planned a week-long vacation to Maui with a man she had been dating for only a few months. In exchange for watching the 8-year-old and 9-year-old children for 7 full days, Miss Ma had offered to pay $500. The judge listened intently as Miss Gomez described the week. Because it was spring break, the young student wanted the children to have a wonderful time. She took them to restaurants, movie theaters, and even a water park. To facilitate these activities, Miss Ma had handed over her credit card, just as she had done in the past, without setting any explicit financial limits. However, the tension in the room rose when Miss Ma was given the opportunity to clarify her position. The defendant explained that while she trusted Miss Gomez, there was an established pattern of behavior that had been violated. In previous instances, Miss Gomez had never spent more than $30 a day. This time, however, the credit card bill arrived with a shocking total of $620 in charges over just 1 week. Miss Ma argued that she had already stocked 2 large refrigerators with food, including pasta which Miss Gomez loved to cook, to ensure the children were well fed without the need for excessive spending. The judge requested the evidence, and the bailiff moved with practiced efficiency to collect the receipts and text messages. As Judge Ebony reviewed the documents, the story began to sharpen. There were charges for seafood, steak houses, and 4 separate trips to the movie theater. Miss Ma pointed out that her children did not even eat steak, to which the judge humorously replied that perhaps they had discovered a new love for ribeye. Despite the light-hearted moment, the core of the issue was serious. Judge Ebony addressed Miss Gomez, noting that as a 20-year-old nursing student, she possessed the skills of deduction and understanding. There was a significant gap between the expected $30 and the actual $620. The judge noted that while there was no articulated limit, there was a duty of cautious care. To spend such an exorbitant amount of money on 2 children in 1 week was deemed foolish by the court. The relationship was supposed to be one of love and trust, and that trust had been strained by the lack of communication regarding the spending. In her wisdom, Judge Ebony recognized the faults on both sides. She advised Miss Ma that in this technological age, she should have been more proactive in setting limits or using bank alerts to monitor her finances. However, she also held Miss Gomez accountable for the lack of restraint. The judge decided to take Miss Ma at her word that she expected to spend around $300. She deducted that amount from the $500 originally owed for the babysitting fee. The final ruling was in favor of the plaintiff for the amount of $200. It was a balanced decision, intended to teach both women about the importance of clarity, trust, and fiscal responsibility. As the first pair departed, the courtroom shifted its focus to a second case that highlighted the challenges of living in a community. Miss Lori Smith, a woman who clearly valued her property and peace, was suing her neighbor, Mr. Austin Michaels. The claim was for $1,500 due to damage caused to her vehicle during a rowdy neighborhood party. Miss Smith described the scene with frustration. She explained that Mr. Michaels, a young man who lived nearby, had hosted a large and unruly party with his friends. During the festivities, they had thrown balloons filled with a strange foam in the front yard. This foam had landed on Miss Smith's sport utility vehicle, leaving a frosty, white residue that ruined the paint job. She presented a repair estimate from a professional body shop which detailed $900 for paint and $600 for labor, totaling exactly $1,500. Mr. Michaels, appearing somewhat nonchalant, defended his actions by stating that he had tried to be a good neighbor. He had distributed flyers to every house the day before the party. The flyer informed the neighbors of the birthday celebration and suggested that they move their cars because of the foam balloons. He even included a mention of freshly baked cookies as a gesture of goodwill. He argued that because Miss Smith was the only neighbor who refused to move her car, the damage was her own fault. Judge Ebony leaned forward, her expression serious. She addressed the fundamental legal principles at play. She explained to Mr. Michaels that while he was at a stage of life where fun was a priority, adulthood involved understanding rights and duties. She spoke about the concept of quiet enjoyment of one's property. Miss Smith, as a homeowner and vehicle owner, had no legal duty to move her car simply because a neighbor asked her to do so. The flyer was a suggestion, not a mandate. Mr. Michaels did not possess the legal authority to demand that his neighbors alter their behavior to accommodate his party. The judge firmly stated that because the damage to the car was a direct result of the actions of Mr. Michaels and his guests, he was legally responsible for the cost of the repairs. She ruled in complete favor of Miss Smith for the full amount of $1,500. It was a lesson in the boundaries of personal freedom and the responsibility we owe to those who live around us. As the proceedings concluded, Judge Ebony K. Williams watched the litigants leave. She hoped that they would carry more than just a financial judgment away from her courtroom. She hoped they would carry a better understanding of integrity, respect, and the delicate balance required to live harmoniously in a diverse society. In her courtroom, justice was not just about the law of the land, but about the human values that hold a community together. The nameplate on the bench remained, a silent witness to the ongoing journey toward equal justice for all.